Welcome to the SAS Enterprise Business Intelligence, or SAS EBI, Training for Business Analyst video tutorial series. This tutorial is the first video in a multi-part series of online content covering training topics on the SAS EBI tool suite and how business analysts can use these analytics tools to serve CMS project needs. The objective of this video training is to forward knowledge of four key topics: the implementation of SAS and the Integrated Data Repository, or IDR, at CMS, a high-level overview of the SAS EBI platform and dependencies when using the SAS EBI tools in conjunction with the IDR data warehouse. Also discussed is the rationale for CMS employing user access requirements for the supporting environments. Lastly, a discussion of how the Linux environment is leveraged at CMS is conveyed in detail. What is business intelligence? How and why is it realized at CMS? Business intelligence, or BI, is a process for evaluating and inspecting data with the goal of presenting parsed out data in manageable and intention slices. This in turn will streamline the flow for achieving better business outcomes and foster more informed business decisions. An integral topic examined in this video tutorial is how SAS can be leveraged in an enterprise capacity to optimize results and improve performance across CMS business components. Let's get a few things out of the way. SAS is not the IDR. At CMS, there are two separate systems. First, there is an overarching petabyte scale data warehouse, the IDR, which is hosted in the Teradata environment. This is where Medicare and Medicaid-based data resides. Second, there are specific business intelligence tools to query the IDR. Four common BI tools available at CMS which allow for querying the IDR are SAS, MicroStrategy, Cognos, and Business Objects. This video tutorial will focus on the SAS tool suite of BI applications. SAS EBI is structured at CMS in various tiers. The client tier represents the physical install of client-based tools within the Windows environment. Common client-based SAS tools used by business analysts are SAS Enterprise Guide and the SAS add-in for Microsoft Office. The physical install of client applications reside on a centralized Citrix virtual desktop. The web tier contains web-based applications accessible via a web browser and do not rely on Citrix to launch those applications. Notable web-based SAS intelligence tools include SAS Studio and Web Report Studio. The web tier is hosted in both the Windows and Linux environments. The data tier resides on the additional Unix region. The data tier is the data, whether that data is directly from the IDR or subsets of the IDR such as SAS datasets. Lastly, and most transparent to users, is the server tier. This is the engine that runs the queries and the background shared workspace amongst all SAS users. The most direct impact for business analysts at CMS is the workspace server. This is the execution server. Where all the tiers come together is under the metadata server umbrella. This server brings together all the user access privileges from the other tiers and consolidates that into a CMS user profile. This area is where access is granted to the SAS EBI tools, IDR data, other subsets of the IDR, shared project regions, and the SAS application server. SAS EBI connects to several other relational databases at CMS. However, the most comprehensive data warehouse containing Medicare and Medicaid data exists in the Teradata data warehouse. Data comes in many forms. SAS datasets are the most common subset type of IDR data. External data may be uploaded to the SAS server as well. A typical upload file would be an Excel file, a comma-separated file, or CSV, a text file, etc. A primary benefit of using the SAS EBI tool suite is the ability for business analysts, not just developers, to create enterprise-enabled reports and processes for consumption by all team members, including those who can only consume such content from a web browser. Business analysts can create stored processes for these purposes. A stored process contains one or more SAS programs or tasks in a single object. Stored processes are created in SAS Enterprise Guide and serve as a means to connect all users on a project with the data and analytical steps to serve a business need. A chief advantage of using a stored process is productionalization of your group's workflow, from business analyst to web consumer, for example. The business analyst will initially compile any queries and tasks, then encapsulate all those queries and tasks into a single object. The analyst can define prompts for the stored process that let end users customize results as needed. A stored process object resides on the SAS metadata server and can be deployed to others on the team or project across SAS tools. A stored process gives the web consumer more control to tailor-make their own on-demand reports and tables. The Enterprise User Administration, or EUA process, is required for users to gain authorization to systems, data, or projects. This process manages the collection of user BI tools, data, and project privileges. The EUA process for adding a code starts in the user level at the Enterprise User Administration page located at https://eua.cms.gov. Upon approval from the appropriate CMS approver or approvers for that specific EUA job code, the job code requester and appropriate administrators are notified via email correspondence. The SAS and/or database administrators provision the CMS user's account, at which point the user is staged to use the systems, data, and/or projects on their workstations. For further information on the EUA process, please consult the EUA User Guide or YouTube video on the CMS YouTube channel. The Linux environment is resident in the server and data tiers of the SAS implementation at CMS. The metadata server is where all access and privilege information is amassed and stored. Every action taken in a SAS BI tool routes through the metadata server. This is sort of a traffic cop. Does a user have privileges to use SAS Enterprise Guide, to access IDR data, and for a specific group project? When all the applicable job codes are approved, this underlying access is transparent to the CMS user. The way this is manifested in the SAS installation at CMS is through what is called the SAS App Compute Server, also referred to as the Workspace Server. This workspace execution area is shared amongst all SAS users at CMS. The SAS App Compute Server is located within the Server's Resources pane. Expanding the SAS App Compute Server connects to approved CMS resources and polls a user's pre-code for applicable libname statements, which include a personal SAS library, project libraries, and Teradata virtual data marts. A stored process server is essentially a duplicate of the SAS App Server, but one that is dedicated for executing stored processes. Stored processes are often resource intensive, and if they are run on the common workspace server, SAS App Compute, this may degrade system performance. Although it is recommended whenever possible to run a stored process on the workspace server, there are occasions where a dedicated stored process server is useful for larger populations of users who are running the stored process. The rationale for choosing the stored process server is to handle large processing loads, which frees up the workspace server. Step 3 in the stored process creation wizard allows the functionality to choose which server will execute the stored process. A log may not be accessible to an end user when a stored process is run. In step 2 of the stored process creation wizard, you may write a proc print2 statement so logs are saved to a known location every time the stored process is run. Any SAS libraries that contain input data and output data used by the stored process should be defined when the stored process is created. A libname statement is included in the stored process code to attend to the location of the data. The stored process itself will exist in a folder where teams may access it, such as a share folder within the business component folder and a dedicated project folder where team members may navigate to. A project folder will vary from project to project. The primary database the SAS business intelligence tools are used against is the IDR. The IDR is the largest repository of Medicare and Medicaid data at CMS. The IDR is so expansive that it must be broken up into logical groupings of data. Established business requirement models allocate access via virtual data marts, or VDMs. These Teradata VDMs are a consolidation of IDR views, which are virtual representations of the underlying data. The IDR views contain the IDR data elements. Those data elements are what CMS users use to query the IDR. Two common VDMs used by business analysts at CMS are the Medicare Access Layer VDM, which has 21 views, and the Medicare VDM, which has over 700 views. While working on the SAS EBI system, there are syntax and security settings that must be taken into consideration due to the different operating systems and security requirements. File and folder names are case sensitive on the Linux SAS server. Regarding the / direction when referencing file paths, when transferring data into or out from the SAS system, keep in mind the / direction when writing the paths. Windows requires backslashes when referencing file paths, while Linux requires /. Lastly, CMS takes security seriously. Command line access is not permitted at CMS. This concludes the SAS EBI platform at CMS video tutorial.